Elias?
It's 9:03.
I was muted, my bad. We are indeed. It might be a little hectic because I'll be flipping titles around, but everything should be going
No worries.
ready.
Do your thing, buddy. The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Everybody, and good morning, everybody. It is Friday, September 5th, and today is National Chianti Day.
Chianti?
Chianti.
Yeah. Chianti, the wine.
What? It's a wine. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Wow,
A very good wine. It's one of the favorites for wine drinkers who really know their stuff.
Really?
It's a staple.
It's a region, isn't it? The Chianti region.
Yeah, I would say if it's a
grape.
wine, yeah, that would make sense to me that it would be a region.
I think it's a grape.
You think it's a grape?
No, it's a wine.
We know that, Jenny, but before it's a wine. Is it a region or a grape? We're all aware.
It's a region in Tuscany, Italy.
It's a certain
There we
grape that's
go.
grown in a certain region of Tuscany, yeah, which is the Chianti region. There we go. So it's both.
Oh,
Interesting.
who cares?
improving
It's
our
funny
wine
to see
knowledge.
your liver with some fava beans with. Nice glass of Chianti.
I do want to say sorry to anyone that's watching in X that wants to join the chat. Apparently, we hit the button that says that makes it making only premium subscribers able to chat in the chat today. So we apologize for that, but it's all good. It's also National Food Bank Day today, you guys.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to
absolutely.
food banks. You know what I mean?
Food
Support.
banks make the world go round, especially in America right now.
Yeah. Oh, Jenny, you're gonna love this. Here, this is
I bet
just
I
for
don't,
you.
but what is it?
It's National Lazy Moms Day.
How cute, Jason.
You get to be lazy today.
Yeah,
What's
what
wrong
you
with
should be
that?
happy. You do the show from your bed.
I do this show from my bed.
Okay, so
That's perfect.
yeah, exactly. National Lazy Moms Day.
Right in my,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's not lazy. I get up every morning and do this show.
Mhm. It's
True.
also National Be Late for Something Day, Jenny Beth.
Well, speaking of this show.
Oh, Dr. Mark, you're gonna love this. It's National Cheese Pizza Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only way to eat pizza.
I mean, can you really have pizza without cheese?
Yeah,
No, you
can
can't
something
have it
called
without
tomato
cheese.
pie.
Tomato.
And tomato pie is basically a cheeseless pizza.
Of course,
But
Dr.
that's why
Barney.
it's called tomato pie. It's not really pizza, is it?
Yeah, but then they usually put, Parmesan on it. And, yeah,
Okay,
you could,
okay.
Yeah,
you could
that's
still decorate
still.
it.
Yeah.
But everybody knows that if you want to see if a place has good pizza, you always get the cheese pizza.
Mm-hmm. Well, and thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are starting off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their life back on track after they've been victims of the track. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Oh boy. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Jason,
Yeah.
look at my new hot sauce. Can you see it?
Oh, look at that.
Vote Republican.
It's the hottest sauce in America.
Somebody
Man.
gave me that last night. How hilarious is that?
You didn't give me a bottle?
Okay.
That's so rude.
What?
You didn't get me a bottle? That's so rude.
I still don't have my liberal tears. Thanks, Jason. Anyways, here's the latest from Washington. President Trump is reportedly considering rescheduling marijuana, moving it Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under federal law. And according to Republican Congressman Brian Mast of Florida, Kellyanne Conway, the former senior advisor, is the leading advocate within the president's inner circle pushing that effort. Mast said that although Conway had once been skeptical of marijuana legalization, she's now very much in Trump's circle of people, and rescheduling is something that she's been moving forward with the administration as well. He called her the biggest champion for the policy change among those advising the president. As Trump weighs this proposal, Mast indicated there's momentum. He believes a decision could be coming soon, so we will definitely be paying attention to that one. Sounds like Kelly Conway had a discussion with somebody at some big pharma company, but hey, here we go.
Interesting. So I know Brian Mast personally. I've spent a lot of time with Brian Mast, and helped him evolve on his position on cannabis. And so, Brian Mast is a true war hero for America. So I have the utmost respect for Congressman Mast. Kellyanne Conway, I met a number of years ago when she was the advisor to President Trump. And I had a conversation with her. We exchanged emails and had some more conversations later on. So I'm not surprised that she is advocating for Schedule 3, but I would be hesitant to believe that she's the biggest advocate in the inner circle for Schedule 3. That would be way more to me like someone like Matt Gaetz doing that way more than Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne Conway was always fairly skeptical of cannabis, but was definitely open to hearing the information and learning more and everything. And so I'm not sure if I'm buying that she's the number one cheerleader for this or not. But I don't think that I am.
Okay. Well, you sent me the story, so I guess that was the whole point.
No, that wasn't the point.
Listen, either way, I guess the conversations are happening, and
if you found your own story, I wouldn't send you a story.
well, I'm being a lazy mom today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I rest my case. Any thoughts on this, Jesse?
Oh man, you know my thoughts. We're just walking down the path of doom here. I hate to be that guy, but I am that guy, and I know that Dr. Talleyrand disagrees pretty wholeheartedly on the Schedule 3 thing, and a few of our correspondents do. Especially Michael Minardi, one of our resident lawyers. But I just think they're wrong. I think that this is, if it goes Schedule 3, which very much looks like it's going to, it's just going to become a big pharma.
Yeah, I saw some people on X yesterday that were saying that the announcement was going to come today, but obviously it's not. If it hasn't came already today. But
Damn, so everything on X isn't true?
He makes announcements in the afternoon sometimes.
He's not going to make an announcement like that in the afternoon. I don't think so. I don't.
Why not?
I don't think he would do it that late in the day. It seems to me more like a morning, mid-afternoon thing. You know, we got to remember we're already.
It's a lazy dad day. You never know.
It's not. It's a lazy mom day, Jenny Beth.
What? Well, all right.
You know, the White House.
He's got a couple lazy moms in his life.
I'm very comfortable right
shots
now.
fired.
By the way,
Shots
speaking
fired.
of doing the show from my bed, I'm aggressively comfortable. Thank you.
Shots fired.
Trump's got everyone on pins and needles as he usually does, waiting to let us know which way he's going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Not fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, Dr. Mark, you have any thoughts on this?
Oh God. It's we've beat this issue to death.
Oh, we're gonna keep beating this issue.
Right?
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. I get Dr. Talleyrand's notion of this increases access to patients, but putting a plant that people can grow themselves into Schedule 3, meaning a doctor's prescription, go pick up your weed at Walgreens, is just going to fail miserably with the trap market winning all day long.
I totally agree with that, Dr. Mark. The one thing, Michael Minardi, well, one of his arguments in regards with Schedule 3 of why it's not going to become that is he frames it in a very interesting way, saying that because cannabis Jesse, help me with this. Because it's not an FDA approved substance, then therefore the markets would still operate in the same manner that they are currently operating in. And I think that's probably the most realistic argument that I've heard anybody anywhere make in regards to advocating for Schedule 3.
That is what he says.
3, then. It's not
exactly.
Schedule 3.
Exactly.
And basically what it does is
that argument.
That putting a plant into Schedule 3 is absolutely ludicrous and stupid.
Right. Mm-hmm. Correct.
Correct. Dr. Mark, I agree with you on this. I'm just saying that this is their thought, and it's honest. It's the most thought through thought that I've heard anybody make. I've heard lots of people argue for Schedule 3, tons of people, and all of them, are totally ridiculous and totally out of place, and a lot of them don't even make sense, and people just live in this fantasy dream world. But Michael Minardi,
I view it as an exercise in sophistry and bullshit. and hubris, right? They're just wasting our time. Remember the DEA was going to have hearings. Ooh, the DEA is going to have hearings. Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. What a waste of time and money.
I'm with you.
If I was that doing my job, I would have been gone a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I like the vibe here that Dr. Mark's throwing. That this is just total bullshit, really. It's worse than a waste of time. I mean, it's a waste of time and money that we've all spent in this industry for the last 15 to 20 years, some of us longer. And man, it's just it would really be a bummer. And I hear Michael's argument that somehow without an FDA approved product that is plant-based, that the whole plant sort of still sits outside and they would leave a Schedule 3 substance in this weird gray area. It's the best argument I've heard for that, but I don't see the pharma companies who own hundreds of Schedule 3 substances already letting that happen without suing the federal government, because now that just throws a monkey wrench in their whole system, and they've paid billions of dollars to have these drugs. Schedule 3.
I agree.
And they want to protect them.
The C Word did throw in a super chat. It says, if it goes to Schedule 3, we will maybe benefit from doctors and scientists taking a crack at growing some fires.
Oh, well, again, there will be no fires in the pharmacy.
I agree. I totally agree.
And all Schedule 3 drugs have to be bought through a pharmacy.
Yep.
So I don't know how this is hard to understand. This seems to be very hard to understand, but there is no Schedule 3 drug bought outside of a pharmacy. And there is no Schedule 3 drug that is a whole plant. It is all by molecule.
Yep. Exactly. Well, on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. Elias. And we are back, you guys. We are back. Like we never left, you know what I mean? Jenny Beth, you with us?
I'm here.
You lazy day today? Should I just go into my story?
Yeah, I'm here.
With a follow-up story from Jenny Beth's story on Monday, because she's having a lazy mom day today. Michigan cannabis regulator recalls more vape carts, this time over a banned chemical, you guys. That's right. A growing number of vape cartridges sold at Michigan adult use marijuana dispensaries are being recalled. Michigan's Cannabis Regulatory Agency said September 2nd that it's conducting a voluntary recall with House Brands Distro for its Runts branded Top Smoke go-karts 1 gram vape cartridges produced on February 25th. The agency said the vape carts contain a banned chemical and should not be consumed. The recall of the Runts vape carts follows a recall last week of nearly 5,800 Cushy Punch vape carts produced by Ann Arbor-based exclusive brands because the agency found the vapes contained medium chain triglyceride, better known as MCT oil. And it was one of several recalls of vape carts in recent months after the agency banned the use of MCT oil in vapes in October. It's unclear which banned chemicals is in the House Brands Distro vape carts, but Michigan CRA referred the question to the company, which didn't immediately respond to an emailed request for comment. Banned chemicals include, you're going to have to help me with this, Dr. Mark, Bifenthrin, it's an insecticide, Bifenthrin, Bifenthrin.
Bifenthrin or something like that. Yeah,
it's an insecticide. Yep. Bifenthrin. That's also a pesticide.
Yeah.
Trifoxystrobin. It's a fungicide.
Yep, fungicide. Yeah.
Yep, and among several others, they say. And the CRA said House Brands Distro has identified sales locations that have this product in their inventory and are working with stores to retrieve and dispose of any recalled product in stock. About 5,800 vape carts were sold and 3,800 vape carts are still at dispensaries around the state, a spokesperson for Michigan CRA said. The vape carts were sold at stores such as Herbology Cannabis Co. in River Rouge, several jars cannabis stores, Joyology of Lake Orion, and Green Genie in Detroit, among others. Consumers who purchase this flavor of House Brands Distro vape cartridges anytime after February 25th should check the metric tag number of the package label and compare it to the recall of the metric tag numbers found on the CRA's website, the agency said. First, who the hell keeps the packaging around from these products once they open the... This is so weird that they would say that, but whatever. Consumers with a recalled vape cart should dispose of it safely, the CRA said. They're supposed to lay it gently down in the trash or something? I'm confused by that. Consumers who have experienced adverse reactions after using these products should report their symptoms and product use to their healthcare providers, the agency said. And customers are also encouraged to report any adverse reactions to the products to the CRA by completing an adverse reaction reporting form that can be found at the agency's website or by phone at 517-284-8599, the CRA said. Oh, man, you guys. These guys, not only they want you to fill out a form after you realize that you just got shammed and bought a bad vape card. This is crazy to me. And how do you how do you dispose of something safely? I'm so confused by this because all of a sudden, I don't know. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Dr. Mark, how do you dispose of a vape cart safely?
You throw it in the trash like everything else in this disposable society.
These guys, these guys think they're batteries or something, like that, how they have like different recycling for batteries. They're like, don't throw your batteries in the trash. It's bad for the environment.
It's okay to throw away a broken alarm clock with a dead battery or a broken phone, or there's batteries in most electronic things these days. And all kinds of toxic shit that's going to leach out into the groundwater around these garbage dumps. But why is there such a concern about vape pen cards, right? I mean, how do people dispose a television that doesn't work, or how do people dispose? There's all kinds of toxic shit in our environment, man. I mean, vape pen cards, really? That's the concern? Just because there's MCT oil in the vape pen cart, now the vape pen cart becomes some special trash? Or no, MCT oil is just coconut oil, right? And the reason why people are putting coconut oil in there is because guess what? It's cheaper than THC distillate, right? So they can cut THC distillate by just diluting it with a little MCT oil. Or back in the day when people were making CBD pens, guess what? CBD is a crystalline solid. You can't put it into a vape pen cart until it's a liquid. So you need something to dissolve it in. So people were dissolving it in coconut oil. But how fucking stupid. This is like from 2014. I thought we learned this lesson already. If you heat up an oil, right? In fact, do it in your kitchen, right? Put a frying pan on the on the stove. Put some MCT oil, which is coconut oil, right? But this goes for any oil, like olive oil, canola oil, any one of those triglyceride seed oils, right? Heat up the oil. What happens? Does the oil vaporize? Does the oil vaporize? No, the oil doesn't vaporize. You know what it does? It reaches a certain temperature and then it starts smoking. An oil will smoke at its smoke point, right? And certain oils have lower or higher smoke points. And what that is that's an indication that oil at that temperature is going to start reacting with the oxygen that's in the air to start degrading, right? So when you heat up oil, unlike heating up water, when you heat up water, what happens? It boils, right? Eventually it all boils away. When you heat up oil, it doesn't boil, right? It starts smoking. It starts degrading. And that's the shit that these people are putting in their vape pens. Oh my God, this is such a 2014 problem, right? Don't put MCT oil in your vape pens. And the reason why people do that is because of prohibition, right? Because THC distillate is expensive and MCT oil is not. So therefore, you can cut THC distillate with MCT oil. It'll still test for high THC, but now you got a bunch of oil in there that's just going to remain in the cartridge, and you're going to be pulling on that. And you're like, man, I'm not getting anything off, because oil doesn't boil, people. It smokes.
That's right.
Right? So, I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I thought this was a solved problem.
Any vape carts that don't have a filler in it? You can't really make a vape cart without a filler. So there's no...
Okay, so if you want to make a vape pen that actually tastes like the cannabis from which it was derived, so when you extract cannabis, we all know that the primary ingredient in cannabis is something called THCA, right? THCA we know is a crystalline solid. So when you extract it, right, if you boil away all the solvent that you just used to extract it with, guess what? THCA is solid, right? So you're going to make diamonds, or you're going to make shatter, right? You're going to make basically a crystalline solid, which sometimes becomes an amorphous solid, right? So yes, you'd have to dissolve that in some kind of fluid to put it into a vape pen cart. So along comes this thing called live resin, right? So everyone knows what the difference between live resin and a cannabis extract from dried material. When you extract dried material, you get a solid. When you extract live resin, because there's so much more terpenes in there, guess what? The terpenes in the extract dissolve the solid. Dissolve the solid. Oh my God, what the hell? This is chemistry, right? So now we're going to take that solution, and guess what? If it's properly made live resin, it tastes just like the cannabis from which it was derived from, right? Right? Because you're using something like butane, you're pulling all that goodness out of the trichome, then you're evaporating off the butane. So what's left? Terpenes and cannabinoids. You put that into a vape pen, first of all, it's a liquid, right?
Yep.
Now you put that into a vape pen, and guess what? Now the vape pen tastes just like the weed from which it was derived, right? So that's one way. The other way, Dr. T, and this is the less desirable way, is you just take vanilla THC distillate. When I say vanilla, I don't mean vanilla flavored. I just mean, THC, the molecule, right? You could extract THCA, you could decarboxylate THCA. When you decarboxylate pure THCA, that's referred to these days as liquid diamonds. It's just high THC rocket fuel because there's not a whole lot of other stuff there. If you started with pure THCA, if you decarboxylate that, you should basically have pure THC. Now you have a very, very viscous oil, Dr. T, that doesn't necessarily diffuse into the atomizer, so they need to cut that. Often what people are doing is they're taking terpenes from the plant, then distilling the THC distillate, and then reincorporating the terpenes into that. So basically what you're doing is terpenes are strain specific. So each different strain and each variety of cannabis is going to have a unique terpene profile. So if you want a vape pen to taste like sour diesel, you better be adding sour diesel terpenes. Now there's companies like True Terps and abstracts that will basically, sell you a terpene profile for Jack Herrera or for Lemon G or whatever. So there's ways of adding terpenes. Dr. T, those terpenes will always reduce the viscosity because terpenes are very low viscous material, where the THC distillate is usually very high viscosity material. So when they add those two things together, now you could basically put that into a vape pen, and theoretically it'll taste like the cannabis that the terpene profile comes from.
Well, that's an awesome explanation. So basically what you're saying is the terpenes are the base, and that's what brings it from solid. I doubt that maybe some people are taking the effort to extract the terpenes from the actual flower and reincorporate it back into their vape cart. But, economy of scale, it's $25 for a gallon of terpenes, that you can buy on the market. So likely they're just buying terpenes. The problem, though, is that nobody really knows the complete profile of a sour diesel, because, first of all, the standards we're using were arbitrarily determined. Even though they're common terpenes, there may be many other terpenes that we're simply not testing for, so we don't know what's in the flower. But my guess is they're just putting the prominent terpenes, the alpha pinene and the beta pinene and the beta caryophyllene back in. They're buying it in the market for $25 a gallon, and then just putting a little bit back in to their pens.
Right, and those botanical terpenes are likely derived from non-cannabis sources. But Dr. T, what's really refreshing is that the cannabis connoisseurs have kind of picked up on this, and they realize now that actually terpene profiles of authentic cannabis strains are actually worth more money than the THC that you can derive from that. So there are companies that are basically growing cannabis for just the terpene profiles, and they do a steam distillation of the terpenes, get the terpenes out, and then they throw the rest of the cannabis back into the field. So yeah, there is a considerable market for those flavors because ultimately that's what humans really react to. THC, yeah, that's given, but THC has no flavor at all. So what people really enjoy when they, and the vape pen is supposed to be mimicking smoking experience without the flame, right? So you're heating up the essential components that are in the trichome that you're getting when you smoke a joint without the combustion.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. We're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into Dr. Jean Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you can get your doctor's recommendations online, not just today, but all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is none other than Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
Hold on here. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Pulling up my... here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so happy Friday, everyone. My story today is a study published in a journal, but this story comes from Normal. So study using cannabis prior to drinking results in significantly less alcohol consumption. The co-use of cannabis and alcohol has been increasing among adults with widespread legalization of cannabis. Existing studies provide conflicting results regarding the influence of cannabis on alcohol consumption. Some data supports that cannabis use is associated with increased alcohol consumption, while other studies support substitution effects, such that cannabis use is associated with decreased alcohol consumption. The results have been nuanced. There's not consistency across the literature. For example, cannabis use has been associated with reduced abstinence from alcohol in alcohol use disorders. Reduced abstinence means more drinking. In contrast, reduced alcohol consumption has been observed amongst individuals who use medical cannabis. According to this study published in the journal Drug and Alcohol Dependence, people drink less alcohol and experience fewer alcohol cravings after consuming cannabis. Researchers affiliated with Colorado State University assessed adults' willingness to consume alcohol in a laboratory. Participants were offered drinks every 15 minutes during a 1-hour session. During visits where participants were permitted to consume cannabis before the session, they reduced their intake of alcohol beverages by 25%. So that's one out of 4 drinks they reduced. Investigators reported, we tested whether cannabis serves as a substitute for alcohol in a sample of community adults who drink heavily and use cannabis regularly. Consistent with our hypothesis, self-administering cannabis before alcohol significantly reduced alcohol consumption compared to when alcohol was offered without cannabis. Furthermore, we found a trend toward acute reduction in alcohol craving following cannabis and alcohol co-administration compared to alcohol administration alone, suggesting that craving reduction may be a plausible mechanism through which cannabis substitution for alcohol could occur in some individuals. The study's authors concluded these findings provide support for the idea that legal market cannabis can serve as a substitute for alcohol among some individuals who engage in heavy drinking. In a previous survey data published in 2024, the Harm Reduction Journal, 60% of cannabis consumers say that their cannabis use results in less frequent alcohol consumption. So THC activates the dopamine reward system, where CBD may do the opposite, and that's where craving comes from. We have made some comments on the show before about crossfading, implying that containing alcohol and consuming alcohol and cannabis has an additive effect. Although cannabis and alcohol have different psychoactive effects, they both tend to relax the consumer and be used in social situations. So what is your experience? Do you substitute alcohol for cannabis, or does cannabis increase your use of alcohol? This is Dr. Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
I don't think it increases anybody's use of alcohol unless you're really trying to get the spins and possibly throw up. Crossfading, not necessarily it.
Mm-hmm. That's how you feel?
You know, Jason? I mean, come on, Jace.
I don't, you know, so you know, full transparency, I really haven't been drinking much at all lately. But when I did, you know, I would, you know, this is the thing. A lot of it depends on if you're allowed to smoke in the bar or not. You know, some bars will let you smoke inside of them because they're just, you know what I'm saying, super hood like that. Other ones, you have to walk outside. And then you have another variable factor of the weather, of whether or not it makes sense to go outside. And it also makes sense of whether or not you're allowed to bring your drink outside. So all of these are all varying factors of whether or not you're going to drink more and smoke more at the same time. So in a perfect situation, you can smoke inside the bar. Okay, so you can sit there and just smoke and drink and whatnot. And I would say that in that situation, I would probably consume more because they have created a more comfortable environment for me to consume more. The more that I have to get up and move around and whatnot, you know, besides going to the bathroom, anything like that, you know what I mean? That is going to make me consume less because, you know, I might have just, you know, had half a drink and I have to be outside to smoke, and I decide to light up a joint and we smoke through that. I finish my drink and then someone comes out and you want to smoke another joint or whatnot before you go back in. So now my drinking time is cut down because I'm waiting to finish smoking that second joint before I go back to get my next drink. So like these are all the variables that come into play with this that are honestly realistic scenarios of how that can all be managed. So I'm not sure if they can really. I think the study might be, you know, puffing a few little too much or whatnot, but you know
they were smoking before they went to go have drinks, Jason. So like the only variable there is did they get high first
that doesn't
or
make
not?
Let me tell you something, Jenny Beth. You know, if I get up and I smoke in the morning and I drink in the evening, I've smoked before I've gone to get a drink too. So that's just
No, this was right before. Yeah, this was right before.
If it's right before you're driving to the bar and you're smoking in the car and whatnot, you're not going to drink less because you're smoking in the car on the way to the bar.
It's more like we're smoking in front of the apartment and then walking into that certain bar on Alta Loma.
Yeah,
so
but see,
Colorado has this mobile van, and so they've been able to do a lot of studies in the community on cannabis. They're the only ones in the United States that they actually drive their mobile van around and observe people in their environment. So imagine this van pulling up, you're hanging out with friends drinking at home, and the van says, okay, have a drink first go smoke, and then have a drink every 15 minutes.
You know what I'll tell you right now, Dr. T? You know what slows down my drinking probably more than you know, consuming cannabis?
The price of Lagavulin?
Nope, the fact of whether or not I have to make it myself.
The drink.
Yeah, I got a bartender. Bring them, keep them coming. You know what I mean? If I have to get up and actually go and physically do it, I got too many other things going on. Like I'm just like, oh, this takes up too much time. It's the same reason why I mass roll joints. You know what I mean? So then that way I can just fire them off when I'm ready. I treat it as a chore.
So it's not how you feel, like, oh, I'm feeling good now, I don't need another drink. It's just how rapidly, how efficiently you can be delivered.
Exactly. That's how it works with me.
I wonder if you feel anything with any of them.
Hey,
I think you guys are missing a flaw in this entire thing. Huge flaw.
First of all, I have no flaws,
The environment.
Jesse.
There's a huge flaw in this study, and that's the fact that they're sitting in some sort of hospital room and they're being fed drinks every 15 minutes while they smoked or didn't smoke before.
Oh, they're probably
No,
I
this is the
smoke
mobile
weed.
van. This is the mobile van in Colorado.
It's a van? Even
Yeah,
worse.
they have a mobile van, and they go around and they say.
That's even worse.
That's
It's
not a
weird-
comfortable-
No, they go to you. So basically, you're sitting in your buddy's living room where you would normally be having beers, or I'm assuming these
Yeah.
are shots because I don't know who's fucking downing a drink every 15 minutes.
The best place
And
to
I'm
do
very
a
awake
study.
for Lawrence. That's why I'm arguing right now. But they come to you and observe you where you are, Jesse.
Oh, they go into your living room?
Yes.
That seems weird.
Okay, that makes a
seems
little
weird.
more sense. But I would think that a study like this needs to be done at a place where a lot of drinking happens.
Exactly. It needs to be done at a bar.
So it would
Like
make
my
more
living
sense.
room.
Yeah, that could be the case. But I mean a public space. Like there's a famous bar on the Sunset Strip that I won't name that allows smoking, and people smoke there all the time, and you could automatically go there and do a study on the people that smoke versus those who don't, and who drinks the most.
Well, there's a variable right there, Jesse. Though. Oh, go ahead, Dr. T, please.
I just want to say they might have done that. They might have pulled the van up to a bar.
This is the thing. That bar that Jesse is referencing probably has the worst, slowest service ever. So the reality of it is that every time that I've wanted to drink, I at least have a 15-minute wait just waiting for the waitress to come over to even put in the order for another drink before it takes another 10 minutes to even get it. So you're already 25 minutes in.
They're a little
Well, I
bit
think-
faster now. They don't have to pull Ron Jeremy passed out of his spaghetti anymore.
I've noticed that they're faster if you're not smoking.
Well, that's because if you're not smoking, you're generally probably
just
in the
there for
inside.
juice
You're
and food.
you're in the inside of the restaurant, not in the outdoor patio, Jesse.
Well, not everybody smokes outside.
Well, people don't smoke inside.
Yeah,
That's
there's
not
only
what I'm
smoking allowed on the. There's only
There's
smoking allowed on the patio. There.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know
That's
that.
always
I know
been.
that. But I'm saying that there
However-
are people who are outside who just are eating and drinking, and they serve you
service on the
faster
inside
than
comes
you're
to
just
you.
I
eating
mean,
and
like-
drinking.
Jesse, that's not
Listen,
true.
Rainbow Bar and Grill, get your speed together.
That's not true.
I wasn't
Jesse.
trying. I was trying not to mention them so that we don't blow them up.
I mean, it's not a
And
secret,
you don't
Jesse.
think that everybody doesn't already know?
It's not a
I
secret,
mean, like,
Jesse.
you can't, they're almost grandfathered into bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
People across the country do not know.
I don't
maybe
buy
they
that.
need to if they come visit West Hollywood. They need
Yeah,
to go
They
visit
do
them.
need to. You're right about that.
Yes. hmm
That was free advertising, is what that was.
It was very. We should get them as a sponsor.
Yeah, Jason, work
that
on
would
that.
be great. That would be great. That would be
Bring me back a
fantastic.
spaghetti and steak.
So what I look like? Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Rude.
But
Don't you think
anyways, it
this-
just seems to
this
me like
study
the
would be-
Go ahead, Dr. Mark.
environment matters.
I was just going to say, don't you think this study would be more valid if they just did it in an environment where you were open to drink and open to smoke, like at home? You don't have to wait for some bartender. You just go to the refrigerator if you want something. You fill your bowl if you want something.
No,
Right?
no,
I mean,
no,
aren't
no,
there,
Dr.
like,
Mark. That's the whole
Putting
point.
constraint put on a study like this, that it's going to skew the results, right? So if you're sitting, if you're just like hanging out with your friends at your house, and you're free to drink, and you're free to smoke, that should be the environment that this study could.
I disagree. I disagree with that, Dr. Mark. I think that this study needs to be done in a setting like the Rainbow, something similar to that. Okay, but there needs to be designated servers that are only serving that area, that are literally on a timer, that from when you order, you know what I mean, that your service is
Literally
happening
hurting.
lickety split.
Are we missing the part where Dr. Talleyrand said every 15 minutes they were offered a drink? So they
Yeah.
were on a timer. They were offered
Yeah.
a drink every 15 minutes. And it had to have been a shot because I don't know who's putting down a whole, like, I love Aperol spritzes, but they take you more than 15 minutes. You know, whatever.
But, well, I mean, I don't know. You know, it
might be
depends.
grumpy.
There's a bunch of
Not
flaws
lazy
to this study.
Yeah.
I drink every 15 minutes, especially if it's a shot. That's kind of crazy. Like, that's the highest amount of alcoholism you can really hit. If you do 4 shots in an hour, you're gonna be messed up, dude. And so
Yeah, that's
who
beer pong.
even wants to do that in the first place, really?
And also, too, was there food involved in this study? Because if there's food involved, that will dictate how long you can drink. Also, too, Dr. T, that will definitely
exactly.
improve your stamina.
Yeah, this study needs more work.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there was food involved. If they were controlling the drinks, I'm sure they weren't. What's another interesting part of the study was that for women, they only asked them to have 3 drinks per hour, which I thought was interesting. And I really, I think that, despite their attempts to simulate what actually happens out there, by bringing the mobile van to the situation rather than having them come to them, I think it was not a normal situation anyway.
Dr. T, I think I know why. I think I know why they only would allow the females to have 3 drinks.
Why?
It's because they're insurance.
Well, I don't know about insurance.
Their liability insurance.
Isn't there like a trillion studies on the difference that women are way more sensitive to alcohol, just even by weight?
They need to throw me into that study, but anyhow, moving right along. This is interesting.
We camped on
apparently
this,
don't
baby,
like this
for
study.
sure.
Yeah, this was awesome, Dr. T. We're gonna roll into our next commercial, and we are gonna be right back.
Oh, introducing QUX Pay, or simply...
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't. I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months. I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me. We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created. Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees? All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
Yes, and we're back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfer, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
We are back.
We are back.
And
Jenny
we are
Beth.
back. Coming up next. I'm sorry, Jason. Jason gets annoyed when I do his portions. Just proving I'm not a lazy mom. Coming up next, get your blue notebooks out. I don't know what he's going to talk about, but half of us probably will not understand it until he breaks it down. The smartest guy on Deadlot and often on this show, Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Hey, thanks, Jenny. Everybody, you're having a great week. Happy Friday. Hope you got some good plans for the weekend and cannabis is in your plans. My story today really sucks. Actually, I didn't find this out when I posted it, but it's a recycled story from 2023, but it was dated August 30th, 2025, and I didn't see it the first time around, but I read it this time around, and yeah, it's a little hokey because I went and pulled the data, and the data doesn't support everything that they claim in this article, but I'll read it anyway. Cannabis compound discovered in totally different plant. So I thought I had remembered seeing this a few years ago, but I dug into it this time. Scientists have discovered cannabidiol, a compound in cannabis known as CBD, and a common Brazilian plant, opening up potential avenues to produce the increasingly popular substance. Well, let me just put the brakes on right there. So I went to their paper, right? And does this compound actually produce CBD? Barely a bump in the baseline. So I don't know how this article could basically be talking about using it to produce CBD commercially, because it doesn't have a whole lot of CBD, maybe just a little bit. Okay, the team found CBD in the fruits and flowers known as the plant Tremia micrantha bloom, a shrub that grows across much of South America and is often considered a weed. Right? What's the definition of a weed? Weed is just a plant that we don't know what it's used for is yet. So it was considered a weed. Molecular biologist Rodrigo Moura Neto from Federal University in Rio de Janeiro told AFP in 2023. Well, that's right away when I'm like, oh man, this article isn't from 2025, it's from 2023. So anyway, I'll just go on. So CBD is increasingly used by some to treat some conditions, including epilepsy, chronic pain, and anxiety. It is one of the main active compounds found in cannabis, along with tetrahydrocannabinol or THC, substance that makes users feel high. The compound's effectiveness as medical treatment is still under research. Anito said that the chemical analysis found that Trema contains CBD but not THC. Well, I don't know how he can make that conclusion, because when I look at the data, I barely see any CBD in there at all, and the THC peak is a whole lot bigger. What they're not saying here is that the largest peak in this botanical analysis that they did was CBN. And we all know that CBN is not made by the plant, right? So how does CBN just magically appear in this plant? That's one of my questions. I don't know the answer to. Okay, so it's legal alternative to using cannabis. Well, I don't know if this is actually a legal alternative using cannabis, because the amount of cannabinoids that's in this plant is very, very small. It's not like a 25% THC cannabis cultivar or anything even close to that. The plant grows all over Brazil, and it would be cheaper and it'd be a simpler and cheaper source of cannabidiol. Well, again, I'm going to put the brakes on there, because the amount of cannabidiol that this group found in these plants was exceedingly small, not large like it is in CBD varieties of cannabis right now. So Nito, who has not yet published his results, well, that's really weird. This conversation happened in 2023. The publication came out in 2021. So again, now you understand why I said in my article sucks. Basically, there's a lot of half-truths and misconceptions. It says that they now scanned to scale up the study to identify the best methods to extract trema and analyze its effectiveness with conditions currently treated by medical cannabis. Well, okay. So again, this paper came out not in 2023. It actually came out in 2021. So here we are, 4 years later, and there hasn't been any follow-up publications to this. If you read this back in 2021, you'd think, oh my God, there's another source to see on the planet. We're going to start hearing about farms that are going to be growing this trema plant and extracting CBD. So his team, they're talking about this guy, Nito, won 500,000 real, I guess in US dollars, that would be 104,000 grant from the Brazilian government to fund this research, which he estimates will take 5 years to complete. Well, again, we're 4 years down the road from their initial publication, so I would hope that, again, we're going to hear about this really soon. Getting $100,000 from the Brazilian government's got a lot of money, so that's not, in the grand scheme of things, a lot of money. It might be a lot of money if it showed up in your bank account today, but in order to do a very thorough study of production of cannabinoids in this plant, that's chump change. A study by market analysis firm called Vantage Market Research estimated global market for CBD at nearly $5 billion and projected it would grow to more than $47 billion by 2028, driven mainly by health and wellness. Well, that's one actually refreshing note from this article, is that it looks like the current CBD market is about $5 billion. That's even in the environment that we're in right now, which is prohibition. Also keep in mind that it is against the law to put CBD into food, feed, or cosmetics for interstate commerce, right? That's forbidden by the FD&C Act, right?
Yep,
so any
Food, Drug, and
CBD
Cosmetic
market
Act.
that exists, any CBD market that exists today exists in the presence of these headwinds, which is basically telling you that your business is federally illegal. But the notion that this is going to grow to $47 billion by 2028, well, when I look at the fucking calendar, 2028 is only 3 years away, right? Next presidential election, right? 2028. So they claim that the U.S. market is going to be $47 billion. Well, or that's the global market in U.S. dollars. I mean, that's pretty big right now. So it's interesting that the folks who have the patent on Epidiolex, right, GW Pharmaceuticals, which is now owned by a company called Jazz Pharmaceuticals, is going to let that market grow to $47 billion without grabbing a huge market share there, because they have the only FDA-approved drug. So again, going back to this notion of moving this to Schedule 3, if this gets moved to Schedule 3, say goodbye to CBD tinctures and say hello to Epidiolex at $37,000 a month. I think that's what they try to charge for it. It's an overpriced CBD tincture that should be basically thrown to the wayside and let people use just CBD tinctures, since hemp is now legal. Okay, so that's what I have to say. It's Friday afternoon. Hope everyone has a great weekend. I'd be interested in what my correspondents have to say about this dated, somewhat factual, a light story.
I mean,
on CBD coming from a plant that it doesn't come from.
Yeah, see, I'm not buying. I'm thinking that this is a lot of fake news, Dr. Mark. I agree with you. I think this is a lot of a lot of puffing and whatnot, and them trying to extrapolate, trying to create some other type of narrative. And maybe it's something that the CBD companies are trying to do, because they're going to try to say that it's not hemp derived CBD, it's derived from this other plant, so therefore it's not the same compound, and therefore it's not subject to the Schedule 3 guidelines. Maybe they're just trying to save their business with this. Maybe this is why it's coming back out. It's total prop piece.
I don't know. I think I like the fact that
when I pulled the paper, this plant hardly produces any CBD at all, and I think that they're just trying to, get on the CBD bandwagon by saying, "Oh, we see a small little peak for CBD." The largest peak, Dr. T, this is super interesting. The largest peak of cannabinoids that they see coming from this plant is CBN, and we all know, again, the plant does not make CBN. CBN is a degradation product from the oxidation of decarboxylated THCA, which the plant actually makes. So is the cannabinoid biosynthesis pathway in this plant that's making cannabinoids as their acid form, in their acid forms? We don't know, because this group down in Brazil, they're testing by GC, and GC decarboxylates the acids. But the fact that they see CBN as the predominant cannabinoid here, I think is a little fishy to me.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody contaminated a sample, because CBN comes from THC, right?
That's right.
I don't know if CBN is made without going through the THC pathway. I don't.
It's not.
Yeah. So where did THC come from? Is what I think somebody tainted the sample.
Yeah, somebody put their thumb on the scale, as we would say.
I have a question. This is I had to look this up, but this plant apparently is in the Cannabaceae family, which cannabis is a member of, and hops are also a member of, and there's a few other members that are far less famous or less known, like this plant that you brought up. Has anyone ever shown hops to produce THCA or CBD at all?
I don't think so. I think.
Or has anyone even tried that?
No.
I know some similar terpene that there's
definitely. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
and a wide variety of terpenes too.
The essential oils are expressed in a trichome, so similar to cannabis. But I think that's where maybe the similarity ends. The cannabinoid biosynthetic pathway. I think they have identified a couple other plants where they do see trace amounts of cannabinoids, like in this Tremo plant. But I think it's totally science fiction to think that somehow these things are going to be production vehicles to actually manufacture the material. I think that's a pipe dream.
I think it's a pipe dream too. I'm with you, Dr. Mark. And that's why we tell people to.
We're saying pipe dream
comes scheduling. I thought hemp is not scheduled product.
Nope, it's descheduled because it's legalized by the 2018 Farm Bill.
I'm a big fan of descheduling. I think everything should be descheduled. Mm-hmm. Just Schedule 3 is just an incremental step. It
just might be because there's some other political things that are at play that I'm aware of, that are outside that could possibly lead to a full deschedule. And we'll see what happens. And these are totally things that are totally unrelated to the cannabis space at all whatsoever. So it's going to be very, very interesting to watch all of this develop. But on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade. And in a GMP certified facility, so you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where do I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Second, we are back, you guys. There we go. Well, Jenny Beth, do you want to introduce Mr. Jesse Barney?
From the Ginger Grandpa on the High at 9 News, Gwen Barney's husband, founder of Barney Design Co. and a cannabis industry veteran, Nick Bradley, suck on that. Jesse Barney. I'm glad that all you gingers have found a peace treaty, actually. It makes me happy.
It's tenuous, Jenny. It's tenuous.
It was written in red.
It's going really well. It was
the peace
And
treaty.
I love that.
The peace treaty, Jenny Beth, was written in red font. Just so you know.
Well, what else would it be? Nobody likes ginger on ginger crime, especially not this early in the morning.
Well, we could make lots of red jokes, but I'm not going to carry it any further than that. My story comes out of the Washington Post today. It was all over the place. It was published in many different news outlets. This was a study that just came out, and the headline is this: LSD shows promise for reducing anxiety in drugmaker's midstage study. LSD reduced symptoms of anxiety in a mid-stage study published Thursday, paving the way for additional testing and possible medical approval of a psychedelic drug that has been banned in the U.S. for more than half a century. The results from drug maker MindMed tested several doses of LSD in patients with moderate to severe generalized anxiety disorder, with the benefits lasting as long as 3 months. The company plans to conduct follow-up studies to confirm the results and then apply for Food and Drug Administration approval. Beginning in the 1950s, researchers published a flurry of papers exploring LSD's therapeutic uses, though most of them don't meet modern standards. I see this paper as a clear step in the direction of reviving that old research, applying our modern standards, and determining what are the real costs and benefits of these compounds, said Frederick Barrett, who directs Johns Hopkins University's Psychedelic Center and was not involved in the research. Psychedelics are in the midst of a popular and scientific comeback, with conferences, documentaries, books, and medical journals exploring their potential for conditions like depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, among others. The FDA has designated psilocybin, MDMA, and now LSD as potential breakthrough therapies based on early results. Still, the drugs have not had a glide path to the market. Last year, the FDA rejected MDMA, also known as ecstasy, as a treatment for PTSD, citing flawed study methods, potential research bias, and other issues. The new LSD study, published by the Journal of the American Medical Association, addresses some of those problems. MDMA, like many other psychedelics, was tested in combination with hours of talk therapy by trained health professionals. And I would like to highlight, I think that is one of the keys here with psychedelics actually working, is having talk therapy and other sorts of guided processes that help you work through your experience, and you're not just left alone to digest it on your own. But that approach proved problematic for FDA reviewers, who said it was difficult to separate the benefits of the drug from those of therapy. This is true. The LSD study took a simpler approach. Patients got a single dose of LSD under professional supervision, but without therapy, and then were followed for about 3 months. I wish they would say how many micrograms that single dose was. Was it 70? Was it 120? Was it 200? Was it kind of a big difference? Was it 50 even? Who knows? The paper does not detail how many patients were prepared for the experience or what sort of follow-up they received, which is crucial to understanding the research, Barrett noted. In many cases, people can have such powerful subjective experiences that they may need to talk to a therapist to help them make sense of it, he said. For the study, researchers measured anxiety symptoms in nearly 200 patients who randomly received one of 4 doses of LSD or a placebo. The main aim was to find the optimal dose of the drugs. Okay, so apparently they had a varied dose, which can cause intense visual hallucinations and occasionally feelings of panic or paranoia. At 4 weeks, patients received the 2 highest doses, or the patients receiving the 2 highest doses had significantly lower anxiety scores than those who received placebo or lower doses. After 12 weeks, 65% of patients taking the most effective LSD dose, 100 milligrams, continued. That's got to be a misprint. It can't be milligrams. It's got to be micrograms. Continued to show benefits, and nearly 50% were deemed to be in remission. The most common side effects included hallucinations, nausea, and headaches. Patients who got dummy pills also improved, a common phenomenon in psychedelic and psychiatric studies, but their changes were less than half the size of those getting the real drug. The research was not immune to problems seen in similar studies. Most patients were able to correctly guess whether they had received LSD or a dummy pill, undercutting the blinded approach that's considered critical to objectively establishing the benefits of a new medicine. In addition, a significant portion of the patients in both the placebo and treatment groups dropped out early, narrowing the final data set. It also wasn't clear how long patients might continue to benefit. MindMed is conducting 2 large late-stage trials that will track patients over a longer period of time and, if successful, be submitted for FDA approval. It's possible that some people may need treatment, said Dr. Maurizio Fava of Mass General Brigham Hospital, the study's lead author and an advisor to MindMed. How many retreatments? We don't know yet, but the long-lasting effect is quite significant. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and other administration officials have expressed interest in psychedelic therapy, suggesting it could receive a fast-track review for veterans and others suffering psychological wounds. Generalized anxiety disorder is among the most common mental disorders, affecting nearly 3% of U.S. adults, according to the National Institutes of Health. Current treatments include psychotherapy, antidepressants, and anti-anxiety drugs like benzodiazepines, which are horrible. I would encourage you to see the most recent Tucker Carlson interview with one of the FDA heads about benzos and SSRIs. The possibility of using LSD as a medical treatment isn't new. In the 1950s and 1960s, more than 1,000 papers were published documenting LSD's use, treating alcohol addiction, depression, and other conditions. But a federal backlash was in full swing by the late 1960s when psychedelics became linked to counterculture figures like Timothy Leary, the ex-Harvard professor who famously promoted the drugs as a means to turn on, tune in, and drop out. A 1970 law classifying LSD and other psychedelics as Schedule I drugs without any medical use and high potential for abuse essentially halted U.S. research. When a handful of nonprofits began reassessing the drugs in the 1980s and 1990s, they focused on lesser-known hallucinogens like MDMA and psilocybin, the main ingredient in magic mushrooms, to avoid the historic controversies surrounding LSD. LSD was right there in front of everybody, but MindMed is the first company that actually decided to evaluate it, Fava said. The Associated Press Health and Science Department receives... Oh, that's the end of the article. Well, there's a bunch of things about this article that many of us know a lot about because we have a lot of experience with LSD. And one of those is that it's really hard to quote-unquote abuse it, or there's no way to be addicted to it that I've ever seen, because it's like impossible to just keep taking and taking and taking. People that I've known that have tried to just take it relentlessly day in and day out for months on end end up turned off. They seem to kind of become a little bit dead, and it takes a while for them to revive after they quit. So it seems like a very difficult thing to do like that. However, in these one-off experiences where people definitely more often than not have mystical experiences, even if they think they're bad during the time. There's definitely mystical, and those things seem to turn people on to higher powers, spirituality, and that those thoughts seem to cure anxiety. And what most people say is you see the world as all one, and you see how everything's connected, and that brings some relief to anxiety. I've experienced that. I know many people that have experienced that. It's cool to see this happen. What I'm also wondering is, how are they going to get an FDA approval when it's still Schedule 1? And this is the problem that cannabis has had, is that we can't get FDA approval for anything because it's still Schedule 1. So how are they going to get around that and get some kind of FDA approval for LSD treatments when there's still a Schedule 1? It's still on the schedule. So there we go. I'll pass it back to my fellow correspondents and see what they have to say.
Doctors?
You know, this is so interesting to me. And part of the underlying story here is the pharmaceutical industry and the FDA. You know, the FDA is really geared toward making toward approving a patentable compound, something that somebody can make a lot of money off of. And when you're talking about treatments that are one-off, meaning you only use it once rather than every day, that doesn't fall in line with it. When you're talking about trying to prove that really it's just about this drug that's stopping the anxiety or improving the depression and nothing else, that's all about claiming that your drug is powerful and for making a lot of money, when in reality, you know, LSD or cannabis can provoke anxiety. We know that. And it's very important what your mindset is before you try these substances, to understand that that's going to play a role in the effect also. So I think the FDA is part of the problem here, and it's controlled by the pharmaceutical industry.
Absolutely, yes.
What's that, Dr. Mark?
And I'm just in agreement with what Dr. P is saying. But the other thing I can't help but thinking about was my youth following the Grateful Dead around, smoking tons of weed, dropping tons of acid. So, you know, hey, maybe we were on to something way back then.
Maybe.
You were definitely on something way back then, Dr. Mark, for sure.
Exactly. It doesn't talk about people having bad trips, because I would imagine that LSD, you know, if you're not in the right setting and whatnot, you know what I mean, it can provide a lot more anxiety than one would have. But I think a lot of that has to do with your whole overall mental health and mental stability, because the power of suggestion is very real when you're on these psychotropic drugs.
Yeah, which means that I'm not actually fucking crazy, because I did use both LSD and psilocybin.
Actually, Jenny, I think you definitely are, because I just saw a study that came out today that actually says that 1 in 3 women are mentally insane.
Were you gonna let me finish talking? And that was an Instagram meme. So anyway, moving right the fuck along to what I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by Jason's meme.
It's the truth.
That he probably saw while he was taking his morning shit.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, when I was dealing with PTSD after like years and years of domestic violence, I definitely used more than a microdose of both LSD and psilocybin on multiple occasions by myself to kind of deal with things. And I would typically do it during the day. I would go in nature. I would trip my balls off, for lack of a better term, and then I would journal about it. And that kind of helped me process through some things, and did not, you know, I've never had a bad trip. I've had friends have a bad trip. I've had my ex-boyfriend at the front of the Allman Brothers set at the height of the festival turn around and go, "Why is everybody the devil, and why do they want to fuck you?" And so 17-year-old me had to take him back through the crowd, through the dark campgrounds, and get him back. But I've never had a bad trip. And a friend of mine said to me that day, he's like, "It's never bad, it's just too much." So I think that was always kind of a thought pattern.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Your friend's not realistic on that.
Have you had a bad trip?
I would say that I've had a bad trip, but I have enough mental cognuity to be able to, handle that. But I know people that have had bad trips. And so, like, I've had a situation one time where let me just say this: I've had law enforcement encounters on 3 different trips. Okay, and I know that can spur people out down the rabbit hole. I have been. I don't know if any of you guys would probably remember this, but back in the rave days in the Bay Area, they had one rave that was on a boat. A yacht out in the Bay Area. And it was the only one that they ever did, and the only one that they ever had, and only one they ever will do, because there was a guy that thought that, I don't know why, but he jumped off the boat into the ocean, and his friend jumped out after him.
And they both died.
Mm-hmm.
R.I.P. to that guy.
And,
but hey.
And I used to get this LSD and, the little clear blue, the breath mint, what I'm saying? Little droppers that they sell at 7-Eleven.
Banaka.
No, not Banaka. Ice drops, they were called. Ice drops. And it was like super, super strong. You just needed like one little drop. You know what I mean? And this one guy we called Crazy Tony came over to the house and everybody was tripping. And he picked up the bottle. And he was like, "Oh, I love ice drops, da 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 da," and he just started squirting it, practically the whole thing, down his in his mouth. And needless to say, he was never the same. But he was running up and down the streets butt naked all day. The cops had to come and take him, and like he got institutionalized and whatnot. He was never the same again after that, ever again in life.
Jason, if this were about him stealing your cannabis edibles, we would say you were a bad parent and you were neglectful for leaving that out on the counter.
There was no parents involved in this story, Jenny Beth. Just for the record.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
It's not the LSD's fault. It's Jason Beck's storage of such.
I mean,
it wasn't mine.
Down the rabbit hole, but I would like to chime in. I also don't think there's such a thing as a quote unquote bad trip.
I think people do.
I think there are things that people in the moment feel are negative experiences where they describe things like hell and demons and things that they can't escape from and things that are overtaking them. But nearly universally, when a person thinks those things through and they post-trip, if they're able to talk about it with friends or with people who are knowledgeable, those experiences actually become very positive in their life, and it creates a sense of understanding the universe that helps them in later on. So, and I think that is part of what's just from experience, anecdotally, that's part of what's creating this anti-anxiety, is whether you have a quote-unquote good trip or bad trip, they all end up good. And I think that's also what the study is pointing out, because they don't mention anything about the experience during the trip. But what they're studying is what happens after. And there's a huge drop in anti-anxiety after the fact, almost universally. So that's pretty interesting that confirms what a lot of people know anecdotally who are experienced with LSD.
Unless you're Crazy Tony and you came to in a mental institution. That was probably anxiety provoking.
Well, Jesse, on that one, there was a time that I was in a strip club in Tijuana, and I'll tell you what, bro.
That's a whorehouse. It's called Hong Kong.
No, it was not Hong Kong that we were in. Okay, but shout out to Hong Kong. It's a fantastic place. But it was an actual strip club in Tijuana, and we were all tripping balls, and I literally felt like I was in hell, and every single person in there looked like a demon to me. I have experienced a similar situation like that, and I couldn't wait for us to get out of there and get the hell out of there. It was a very, very sad, creepy situation.
Damn, the day when Jason's ready to get out of the strip club is a sad day for the world, you know?
Well, I mean, I can also say that You know, I took a shot out of a bottle of Bacardi that had a full gram of LSD in it, and that's about 45,000 micrograms, which is a lot of hits of acid. Almost, it's kind of uncountable almost. And I had a 12-hour trip that was very intense. Some of it was bad, what people call bad. I had experiences of spirits and demons and things like that, and some of it was really great. It was a ride, it was a wave, it went through the whole gamut of those things. And so I think that there's a spectrum of what people experience, and those things are just things that exist in the universe that you're kind of what I like to say is, and I believe this to be true about LSD. I think what happens is you're removing, our brains are filter systems, so we can't possibly process all the information that comes into our brains.
Speak
so
for
our
yourself,
brain
Jesse.
just filters and filters and filters. So because it's filtering like that, what LSD is doing is removing those filters so that you are perceiving more information than you can process, and you end up seeing things that are true in the universe that you don't necessarily see normally. And that's where you have good and bad experiences.
Lucid Genetics in the chat says your environment puts you in that state of mind. And I agree. A lot of it is your environmental setting. I totally agree with that. I mentioned that at the beginning of this story that I think your environment and the people that you're with has a lot to do with the type of experience that you encounter. I mean, I have another friend who one time we were kind of like out in a wooded area, and they tried some DMT very lightly. And they like made like best friends with a tree, and they love this tree and still talk about this tree still to this day of what a magical experience they had with, you know what I'm saying? Just
I was going to
looking at
ask,
this tree.
they still do the tree? They still stay in touch with the tree?
They still in touch with the tree. Yep.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I also think that it's, it has a lot to do with what's going on inside you. But speaking of inside, we're almost inside the hour and a half mark. So let's roll into Jason's final story. What do you got? Is that a happy one?
That was cute. Little trailing in to that final story, Jenny Beth. That was cute. Well, let me tell you something. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this, because, they say, quitters never win, or whatever the thing is, and they tell you not to quit, but this story is about a quitter, because former Knicks All-Star power forward reveals that he quit smoking marijuana after he was traded. That's right. Julius Randle spent 4 seasons with the New York Knicks, a place where he completely altered his career. He became a 3-time All-Star and 2-time All-NBA player during his time in New York. Former Knicks forward Julius Randle opens up about quitting smoking marijuana because he says despite that success, there were big challenges along the way. Randle recently revealed that after he was traded from the Knicks to the Minnesota Timberwolves last summer, he quit smoking marijuana to better his mental health. In a quote, he says, "Important to have a clear mind, without anything influencing you, substance, whatever. Smoking made me distant and not present. I kind of be in my own world," Randle said on an American Clinics podcast.
That's not what he sounds like saying it.
Well, this is fine. Randle was known for his fiery energy and tenacity on the court, and however, at times his emotions would get the best of him, including many bouts of frustration at officials and even coaches. These emotions would negatively affect his play on the court, and which made many Knicks fans turn against him. Furthermore, his notorious struggles in the postseason did not sit well with Knicks fans, as demonstrated most by a video of fans tearing down his poster on the Madison Square Garden walls. Randle had a strong first season with the Timberwolves, and Randle had averaging 18.7 points and 7.1 rebounds as Anthony Edwards' second option. He finally had a strong postseason as well, and was a key part of the Timberwolves' run to the Western Conference Finals. And it was clear that his mind was in a much better place than the pressure-filled atmosphere that New York was. The Knicks ended up working out well from the trade as they acquired Karl Anthony Towns in the deal and became an all-star starter in his first season in New York. Like Randall, Towns was instrumental to the Knicks' success, and they look to capitalize on big opportunities next season. Randall was the start of the Knicks turnaround when he blossomed into an all-star back in 2021, and though he wasn't able to finish the job with New York, the mark he left on the city is still large, and it's good to see his mental health in much better place, they say. Well, I'll just say, that my mom always said, don't quit. You know what I mean? Whatever you do, don't quit. And so I just have to view him as a quitter. And I wonder if part of this is just because Minnesota isn't known for good weed, at least because, California sends all their weed to New York and all they have is beverages in Minnesota. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
No, I applaud him. He's a sometimes cannabis is good for you and sometimes it's not right for you. And it's really interesting to listen to all the basketball players who do use cannabis even before games. They will use cannabis. But in his situation, it was the opposite, that he shouldn't be using cannabis. He needed a clear mind, and he did a great job last year in beating my team, the Warriors. He definitely was a different player without the cannabis than his time in New York. So good for him for recognizing that and backing off the cannabis. But on the other hand, there'll be a story about Matthew Barnes or whoever is currently using cannabis as an NBA player. They use it before the games.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of NBA players that smoke. There's a lot of them. Okay, yeah, it's very, very prevalent, very, very common. And shout out to all the NBA players that smoke.
And shout out to Matt Barnes, and shout out to the fact that the people of New York are such assholes that this man he's like, fuck it, I left the city. I didn't need to smoke anymore. This shit was grating. I mean, I don't know, whatever. And shout out to Jason Beck for being bold enough to use that breathy, zesty voice impression for such a giant, angry man, because, definitely not what he sounds like. But that was a bold step, Jason.
That's what I do, Jenny Beth. I'm a bold fighter. I'm here for it. Bring it on.
I'm going to change the subject.
We just read an article about his explosive anger, and you just said, bring it on. Okay.
Ain't nobody worried about his anger.
Julius Randle, if you're out there, if you're watching the High at Night News by chance.
Julius Randle, send a private jet. We'll come do it. We'll do it a little pay-per-view
little
thing.
Private jet to catch the fade, Jason?
Yeah, 100%.
Now we all got to go hear his voice so that we can know what you're even talking about.
That's for sure not. It's not.
I'm glad that
I want to ask a question and kind of change the subject.
Go for it.
Use this as a launch pad. Speaking of sports and cannabis, Dr. T, if someone was playing sports and they got a concussion or like a fairly severe one while playing, it's recommended that they get an immediate dose of CBD if possible, correct? And if so, what size dose would you recommend?
Well, a lot of the CBD products out there are underdosed. The appropriate anti-inflammatory effects of CBD are approximately 10 milligrams per kilogram body weight, which is equivalent to approximately 1,000 grams for your average adult per day. So a dose would be like 200 milligrams of CBD 4 or 5 times per day to get the appropriate anti-inflammatory. Now, there haven't been any clinical studies on CTE or post-concussive syndrome and CBD. It's a great idea. In fact, we've proposed it to the NFL as an important study, but we're still waiting for people to complete that study if they're at all doing it.
There have been anecdotal stories, right, of massive results from big CBD doses after a concussion.
Yeah, I've heard mostly THC. A lot of people don't know that the CBD products out there are are underdosed. A lot of people, say, "Oh, CBD doesn't work for me," because they don't really understand. Number one, they're not taking the appropriate dose. Dosage matters, and then they're looking for the high, where CBD doesn't give you a high. It's an anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen.
Right.
So yeah, you have to just take it appropriately.
Okay, cool. Great to know.
Mm-hmm. That is true. That is true. Cannabis is one of the best things for head injuries. That is very true. And I'm not sure, Jesse, excuse me.
Jesse Beth.
Yeah.
All right.
If it's just CBD, I think you need the whole entourage effect in order for that head injury. I'm not sure if it's just CBD by itself, but.
See, that's what people say. You need a little THC. It's because they're looking for the high. When you take ibuprofen, are you looking for the high of ibuprofen? No.
No, you're looking for that headache to go away.
Well, my understanding is that it's actually the THCA combined with CBD, which creates the biggest anti-inflammatory effect.
Well, THCA has anti-inflammatory. They all have THCA, CBDA has anti-inflammatory, CBD has anti-inflammatory. CBD and CBDA have more studies showing their anti-inflammatory effects, preclinical studies, than the THC does. So if you were going to pick one over the other as an anti-inflammatory, then I would pick the CBD. But thankfully, the plant gives us both. I would just go for a type 3, 20-to-1 CBD to THC if you're going to use a full spectrum product for inflammation. But if you have to just choose one or the other, you can't use THC because your job tests you, then just do a isolate CBD or broad spectrum CBD with no THC, but make sure the dose is correct. Make sure that you're taking a couple 100 milligrams if you're an adult.
That's what I needed to know. I was under the impression that it was definitely at least 200 milligrams, and that probably upwards of 1,000 a day. And so you confirmed what I kind of remembered from somewhere. I don't know where I heard that, but awesome. Great to know.
Shout out to CBD and keeping you safe from head injuries, Jenny Beth.
I'm going to injure you if we don't end the show soon.
Easy there. Everyone always wants to threaten the disabled. I don't understand why people always want to do that. Always want to just, be violent against disabled people.
I just needed something to say there, Jason. Sorry.
People need to stop the disabled hate. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai are somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.